What's up, y'all? It's your girl Amber Lay, and I am here with award-winning violinist Mapy.
Hello.
How are you doing today? So before we get started, real quick, right, just want to say thank you to We Are Jersey Magazine, of course, and just want to say thank you to Nerd Focus for sponsoring this production and many, many more. So, you have had sign-offs. Actually, let's start with this, how we met.
Oh yeah.
We met on a very, very cold winter day. What were you shooting at the time?
So I was shooting a video, a cover. It was a song. It was T-Pain song.
Right.
So they asked me. I mean, his management asked me to play a cover of his song. So we were doing this video. Like we had to do it, even if it was like minus 100 degrees. We had to do it. So, and we did the job.
Yes, we did. So we're in the middle of New York, Times Square. She's in this cute little outfit, and I had to like pretty much hug her in between like sets, I should say, and just try to keep her warm. And it was a lot, but that was what, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, I don't know. It was before COVID for sure.
So it's
Before
about 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. Yeah.
And now she comes to all my events. Now she comes and shows me love, and now she's my friend. You know what I'm saying? But your growth is absolutely amazing because you've had sign-offs from Nicki Minaj to Chris Brown to T-Pain, and you've just done so much. So when did you first start playing violin? And I also know it wasn't your first choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
So I started when I was 6 years old. I wanted to play music as a kid just because, you know, I grew up in a household where my mom was playing music every day, all the time, night and day. She didn't ask if we needed to sleep or get something. She would just play music all the time. So I wanted to play music, and so I went to the conservatory to learn music theory first, and then I had to pick an instrument, and I wanted to play the piano or the guitar just because I was maybe more familiar with these instruments, and also it's polyphonic instruments, and I just thought it was cool to play the piano and sing or just have friends around. I just like the vibe of the guitar or the piano. But that's not what happened. So I was 6, so I couldn't decide. And my teacher told my mom that I should play the violin because apparently I had no idea what it was at that time. I had what they called the perfect pitch. So when you want to play the violin, you better have a perfect pitch because it really helps. If you don't, it's going to be very difficult for you to play these instruments because it's not an instrument where you just have to press like the piano.
Right.
If you know A is there, the violin you really have to. It's very precise, so you have to have a good ear.
Right.
So I started and I hated it. I hated it because it required way too much work.
Right.
In my opinion, for a 6 years old.
Right.
I just wanted to have fun, to play, and which I would do sometimes, but I was spending more time practicing, and that's what helped me to become good at the violin because I was practicing every day, and even if I didn't like it, so I finally enjoyed playing music, playing the violin at some point, and look at me now.
And now you love it. So speaking of your mother, she always said this one quote, right? It said, how did it go? It went something like, music knows no boundaries.
Yeah, so she says music is the passport that breaks boundaries between social classes.
And explain her mindset with that, because I've never heard that before, but I was like, oh, that's a really dope quote.
Yeah, so we have to know the story of my mom to understand what she meant. So my mom, she's from Reunion Island. She was born there. It's in the southeast of Africa, Madagascar. So she was born there, and as a kid, she didn't get a chance to go to school. So as a very young age, she had to work in the sugarcane field with her parents, mom, dad, and also sisters and brothers. That's what was going on at that time, and it was not a long time ago. But Reunion Island is a French colony, so it's a long story, but that's how she grew up. She couldn't go to school. When she turned, I think she turned 18, she decided to move to France. When she moved to France, she wanted, I mean, at that time, the French government promised to all the kids from the French colonies, which is Réunion Island, Martinique, Guadeloupe, or other countries. They promised them a job if they would move to France. So they didn't have jobs, or they were living a hard life. So a lot of young people just moved there. The French government paid a one-way flight for these people. They couldn't afford it, so they would pay a one-way flight. Once they got there, what happened is that they didn't get the perfect jobs. They just got some jobs that, you know. So my mom became a housekeeper. So she was happy to be in France and not working in the sugarcane fields anymore, but she still struggled to be accepted in certain social classes.
Right.
Let's say that's what happened. So she had kids, and she decided that all of us, me and my 4 sisters, that we would go to school and prioritize education and music, art. She worked for very rich people who, she told me, they had kids that would play music or do sports, and she knew that if her kids would do that, they would have access to things too.
Right.
So once I started to play the violin and I was 6, as I was saying, I told my mom like a few months later, maybe 2 months later, I said, I don't like it. It's too difficult. I don't want to work that hard. I can't even do this exercise. It's very hard. So she said, you can't give up on something just because it's hard, because this is what life is about. It's going to be a collection of challenges, and you have to overcome all the challenges, and you will overcome all the challenges. And don't ever stop playing music, because music is the passport that breaks boundaries between social classes.
I love that. And now that you've said all of that, it's so true how if someone's son can go to the NFL or the NBA or become a rapper, singer, producer, and start winning these awards and start getting recognized for their talent, it absolutely breaks that barrier. I'm very proud of you. Now, I always love to talk about what happens before the success. And I know, just like every other entrepreneur, every other person with a dream, we tend to quit our jobs. And it is the scariest thing in the world to go full force into chasing what it is that you want. So when that moment happened, how were you feeling at that time?
When I quit my job, free but scared. So yeah.
Free but scared, I like that.
Free but scared. Yeah. But I was ready for this challenge. It took some time for me to really quit my job. I remember I quit my job at some point and tried to just do music, but then 2 months later I had to get another job because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
I couldn't pay my bills just with music. So when I finally decided that it would be the right moment, I was ready, and I knew that I had no choice. I didn't want to have a plan B. I wanted to have just one plan. Plan A, success, winning, and no other plan. So I read a lot of books at that time, and I read Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
Napoleon Hill. And there is a moment where he's talking about this story, a short story, saying that I don't want to say it wrong, but I know that I don't remember who exactly. They went to war, so it's a story of some people. They went to war, but they went to war. They were on boats. They had to go to this land, and so the chief, apparently, he told them to burn these boats, so they couldn't go back. So they had only one option. It was to win. They couldn't go back. So when I read that, it really helped me to make that decision to quit my job. So I knew I had no other option. I had to win, and it worked at that moment.
Yeah, it is definitely freeing and scary at the same time. And I feel like I said, I feel like everybody with a dream definitely goes back and forth between job, no job, job, no job, until, you know, you're able to do what you love full time. Now, you are from France. And a lot of people, I would assume people would know that, but some people don't. So my question for you, being over here in the States, how does residing pretty much in both, having experience in both countries, how does that mold you into the woman you are today? Because it's very different.
Yeah, it's very different. I feel like it really makes me, as a woman, but as a musician, it makes me more ambitious. I know that as a musician, when I was still in France, I didn't get all these opportunities that I can get in the US. That's also one of the reasons, I mean, the main reason why I moved to the US, because I knew that if I wanted to have a musician career, I had to leave France. So the fact that I know what I couldn't get in that country, and I know what I can get here if I work hard, it makes me very, very, not only ambitious, but very hungry.
Right. Yeah.
As I just said, I don't have another option. I just have one option, winning, and that's it. So it makes me really want to go harder and harder, and I don't give up. You know, if I can't, I don't know, if I can do something, or if I can't do, but if I can't obtain, I don't know, anything, a job or whatever, I'm gonna work harder to get it, because I know that I'm gonna get it at some point. You know?
Right.
Maybe next year, maybe in 10 years, but I'm gonna work, and you know. So the thing is, I realized also, don't know if I should say that, but I'm gonna say it. I realized, me coming from France, I met a lot of people, a lot of artists, creative people here in New York, everywhere in the US, born in the US, and I think it's sad sometimes to see that they don't realize how lucky they are to be born here. As someone that was born in a different country, had to fight. First of all, we have to get a visa to come here. An artist visa, it's not easy. It's very, very, very hard. They just get the best, what they call the best artists from other countries. They cannot. Right. So if you're not the best, you have to work. That's what I did. I wasn't the best. So I'm still maybe not the best, but I worked hard. I knew what they were requiring. So I made sure I worked so I can be that person that they choose to come here and work, because we're not stealing nobody's job. They just want someone that is unique and that would bring something to this country. So this is the first thing, that it took me more than a year to be able to move here. I just feel like a lot of people here don't realize how lucky they are, because even when you get here, you still have to work and prove yourself, because they will, when I say will, they. So if you want to stay here, and that's what I want, if you want to stay here, you have to show that you work non-stop.
Yes.
So you can't just say, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to get on vacation for a month. So you cannot be doing this. This is a luxury. You can't afford that. So I'm working non-stop every day. And I would love a lot of people, a lot of creative and artists from the US to travel more if they can, and realize how hard it is elsewhere, so they can enjoy what they have here.
Right.
And make the most of it.
Right. I love that you said that. I always like to touch on like immigrants moving into the United States, because, you know, I'm full-bred Vietnamese, but I was lucky enough to be born here, but my brother was 3 years old, so they had to go through the process. You know, there was a whole Vietnam War. They came over here on canoes and boats and everything like that. And you're absolutely right. While you're in America, you're just like, oh, you know, this country, da-da-da. But when you go to another country, like our homelands, you'd be shocked at the poverty and everything else that people are dealing with, and the opportunities that we don't have, because Vietnam is a communist country. So you don't get those opportunities, you know what I'm saying? But moving forward, you have done some amazing things. From 2017, your mixtape Island Girl dropping, reaching #1 on iTunes, Reggae and Soca. How did that feel?
Crazy. I couldn't believe it. That was just, so this project, so what happened actually is that I was in the process. I was still living in France in 2017, and I had to drop a project because I was working on my artist visa. So that was one of the requirements, and I felt like I wasn't enough at some point. I said, if I drop a project, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe nobody's gonna like it because what I do is different. I don't play classical music. I play, hip hop, soca, whatever. It's different. So I had to just try, and I dropped it, and it went number one. So I just don't understand how this happened, but I was shocked. I was happy, but really, really surprised. I just feel like it's some, I don't know. I have faith.
It's a humbling experience to know God got your back. That's
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying. So I always say, talent, hard work, dedication is always the recipe for success and for getting better every day and reaching newer levels. So you have accomplished so much, and you have been on so many stages, performed so many places, from the Ellen DeGeneres show to halftime at the NBA. What would you say was your biggest performance as of today?
All right, so that's a great question because there are so many performances that I really, really enjoyed, and I never thought that I would have these opportunities, but I think the biggest one is the Grammy Awards for many reasons. First of all, it's the Grammys. It's the Grammys. So yeah, but it's the way it happened is crazy because it was it happened. So it was 2021, and we were still in a pandemic where all the venues were closed and all these award ceremonies were not happening. But they decided that the Grammys would happen this year, so they made sure everybody was safe, but it was very complicated. But the thing is, the way it happened is during the pandemic, in 2020, I was just posting covers on social media. That's all I could do because I wasn't performing anywhere, so I would just go downstairs, in the street and play. And at that time, I was living with roommates, and my roommate would just come with me and record me with my phone. So we were just doing this, and I was posting. But then that day, the artist saw the video and just contacted me on social media and said, "Oh, we should do a performance one day." So I was like, yes. Yeah.
Of course.
So, but it was August 2020. Everything was closed. There was no performance. But he contacted me then in February the next year and say, "Hey, I didn't forget about you. I have a great idea, and just let me call you and explain." So we talked, and he said, "Okay, I'm performing at the Grammys, and I want to do this performance with you. Are you down?" I said, "Of course." Of course. Like,
what kind of question is that?
Yeah. And this is how it happened. I flew to LA, and we rehearsed, and I worked with the greatest people. I worked with Adam Blackstone, which is the best of the best. He's the best musical director. He's a genius, and I got this opportunity to work with him, Anthony Hamilton, Roddy Ricch, so the Baby, and a lot of great artists. And it was just a dream come true. My first performance after almost a year of not performing anywhere, it was the Grammy. So yes, I will never forget this experience.
Yo, so let me tell you, I'm a groupie for my friends. And you know this. Every time she posts something, she's like, "Yo, she's killing. I'm always hyping you. I'm always hyping anybody I love, period." When you posted the Grammys, the way I fucking screamed, I'm like, "That's my girl." And I was so happy for you. I was like, if I could hug her right now, I would. And I just want to say, thank you for being an authentic person, a genuine person, you're beautiful inside and out. Your soul is amazing. And I'm so proud of you, so blessed to have you in my life, so blessed to have you here. We are we are just honored to even have you on this couch sitting next to me, and being the spring cover of 2023. My last question for you is, do you have any advice for anybody that is trying to enter the music field or is already in the music field and wants to be successful?
Okay, so yes, I do have a lot of advices. It depends on, I feel, yeah, where do I start? That's a great question. Where do I start? But I would just say, try to stay focused and don't get distracted by the noise. Just don't be afraid of people's judgment. Just don't be afraid to be different. Don't be scared about. When I started to play hip hop with the violin, I was still in France, and all the classical world in France were making fun of me, just saying terrible things about me, and I was depressed until I found out that my audience was not here. I mean, not in France. And I was like, okay, so my audience is in the US, I'm going to the US. And just don't be afraid to be different. But what I would say is also learn how to do a lot of things by yourself when you start. You cannot just expect everybody else to help you. You have to be able to do everything by yourself at first. And then when you grow, you're going to add more people in your team. But at first, if you're expecting people to do the work for you, it's not going to just do everything yourself. Learn how to be multifaceted.
Pretty much be a chameleon.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Chameleon. Yeah, when I started, I just the project we were talking about, Island Girl. I didn't go to the studio. I just bought some microphone equipment. I downloaded a software, and I went to the bedroom and I recorded this. And then I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to mix. I learned how to mix. It wasn't mixed very, very well. I have to be honest, but I tried my best. This project was still #1.
It's a beautiful project,
and it was recorded in my bedroom. So we don't need to have money. Like a lot of money to start. Even my violin, everybody asks me, like a lot of people ask me, oh, you know, I have my daughter want to start the violin. Can you recommend a good brand? Like you can buy a $50 violin. You don't have to buy an expensive violin. You just need to be able to play it well. So it's not the violin, it's just the price is you. If you practice, you're gonna be great. You can make a very cheap violin sounds like a Stradivarius. So it's just you. So just you be you.
Be you.
Much. Yeah.
And embrace who you are, embrace what you're about, embrace your purpose that God has given you.
Right.
So, that being said and done, I just want to say thank you to the Violin Queen, because we love you internationally, not just in America, everywhere. We love you. It's your girl Amber Lay. Shout outs to our sponsors. Obviously, we are Jersey Magazine, Nerd Focus, The Photo Coop. We're over and out.
We are Jersey. 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 We are Jersey.